beneath the waves in that part of the ocean, where sunlight gives up and physics politely resigns, something strange is happening. Not monsters, not magic, just real, verifiable places where the laws of nature seem to glitch, like someone spilled coffee on the ocean's source code. Rivers flow underwater, rocks arrange themselves like Wi-Fi routers, and entire patches of sea act like they're counting down to something. Welcome to 7 Mysteries Beneath the Waves, where science investigates logic panics and the ocean quietly refuses to explain itself. Hit like and subscribe to stay afloat, and tell us, which mystery do you think is watching us back? If you ever open a map and zoom in on the Kara Sea, up near the Arctic, you'll find absolutely nothing. Just a big, icy blank space, like someone fell asleep during cartography class. But don't be fooled by the nothingness, because under that frozen emptiness lies a place rumored to be home to dozens of sunken submarines with no names, no flags, and definitely no military funeral ceremonies with brass bands and folded flags. Who put them there? Why hasn't anyone cleaned them up? And the biggest question of all, why do some of them seem to be knocking back? The Kara Sea isn't just remote, it's the geographical version of being left on red. Wedged awkwardly between the Arctic Ocean and the desolate Siberian coast, it's the kind of place where even polar bears check their weather app and go, nah. Imagine an ocean so cold that your thoughts freeze before they finish forming, and the wind feels like it's trying to exfoliate your soul. It's not a vacation spot. It's not even a detour, unless you're a rogue iceberg or a very lost narwhal. You have no business being there. And yet, back in the 1980s, Soviet sonar teams started picking up large, unmistakably metallic blips resting beneath the ice-covered surface, objects too regular to be natural, too big to be ignored, and somehow too boring for anyone to immediately investigate. These weren't just rocks, but they also weren't planes, or ships, or anything that screamed, "You should totally dive down and look closer." They were just there, lying low, suspiciously chill, like they knew no one would come back. When the first team of researchers descended beneath the ice, wrapped in enough thermal gear to qualify as walking laundry piles, they didn't stumble upon twisted wreckage or rusted-out heaps. What they found instead were submarines, eerily well-preserved, lying in oddly organized patterns, not scattered by violence, not sunk in chaos, more like gently parked. Think underwater valet service, but for Cold War secrets. But here's the part that really makes your brain do a double-take. None of the vessels had any markings. No serial numbers. No flags. Not even a cheeky Soviet hammer and sickle stencil. Some hulls had visible signs of tampering, as if someone had physically scraped away identifying details. Like an underwater version of wiping your browser history before mom walks in. Who does that? People with secrets. Big ones. The kind of secrets that get filed away under never happened and stored in places you only find if you're both unlucky and very, very curious. And speaking of secrets, the official story went something like this. These were outdated experimental subs. They malfunctioned. We dumped them for safety, which is adorable. Really, like saying the dog ate your nuclear reactor? Because if there's one thing we've learned from literally every mystery series ever, it's that equipment failure is code for don't ask. Unofficially, the rabbit hole dives deep. Some theorists claim these were prototypes for autonomous underwater drones, decades ahead of their time. Others whisper about stealth tech trials so advanced, even radar would need therapy after trying to find them. But the wildest theory, this was a temporal experiment gone sideways, a secret Cold War attempt to manipulate time itself. Maybe the subs weren't dumped. Maybe they came back, altered. The kind of oops that makes the Pentagon nervous and gives scriptwriters permanent goosebumps. Far-fetched. Absolutely. But let's be honest, if streaming platforms can greenlight 3 shows about haunted typewriters, one weird time-traveling submarine doesn't seem that crazy. So you'd think with a seafloor littered in anonymous submarines and enough mystery to fuel a decade of Reddit threads, someone would want to clean it up. Right. Maybe a government task force, a UN committee, or at least that one overachieving intern who always volunteers for everything. But no, the official response from Russia was something between a shrug and a don't worry about it. They claimed the Kara Sea was perfectly safe. Nothing to see here, which is always what people say right before something absolutely worth seeing explodes. Then came the follow-up move, no more dives allowed. No more photos, no taking samples, not even a cheeky peek. The area was quietly wrapped in red tape, sealed off like someone had dropped a secret so big, not even the ocean was allowed to gossip about it. Meanwhile, international agencies mostly just nodded. No protests, no pressure, no Netflix documentary crew parachuting in. Just a global game of let's all look the other way and pretend we didn't just trip over a dozen Cold War corpses in scuba suits. Because deep down Pun fully intended, everyone seems to agree, it's safer to just let sleeping subs lie. Sunken submarines resting quietly at the bottom of the sea. Creepy enough, but what if someone told you that something down there is knocking? In 2002, a meteorological research team dropped underwater recording equipment into the Kara Sea. Their goal was simple capture. The usual background sounds, waves, cracking ice, maybe a lost whale doing karaoke. But what they actually recorded was far stranger, a slow, steady, metallic tapping sound, not crashing, not rumbling, knocking like it came from inside something hollow and metal. At first, they thought it was just geology doing its thing. Maybe some shifting ice, bubbling gas. Nothing to worry about. But the sound kept coming back, always at the same time, at the same location, and with the same rhythm. Nature doesn't do that. Not that consistently. It felt more like someone or something was knocking on purpose. To be heard or noticed. One sonar technician put it this way: it sounded like someone gently tapping on a metal door down there. Not urgent, not loud. Just a kind of polite, "Hey, I'm still here." And then came the strangest part. No one ever went back. Not because the equipment broke. Not because of budget cuts. People just chose not to return. Because when a submarine graveyard starts knocking back, the smartest thing you can do is exactly what they did. Don't answer the door. After the knocking incident, you'd expect a full investigation. Right? Satellite scans, international debates, maybe a few brave scientists with more curiosity than self-preservation. But no, instead, the Kara Sea quietly vanished from everyone's to-do list. When you zoom into it on Google Maps today, the images are suspiciously blurry. Some areas glitch, others just don't load. It's like even the satellites are looking away. Experts blame poor resolution, snow cover, maybe weak signal. Sure. Or hear us out. Maybe there's something down there that doesn't want to be seen. On certain obscure internet forums, you know, the ones that spell classified with a K, some users suggest the Kara Sea isn't just a submarine graveyard. It's a vault, a lid, maybe even a door. And those subs, they weren't buried. They were posted, like guards. Maybe it's nothing. Or maybe the next time someone dives down there, someone or something might just knock back harder. South of Iceland, there's a stretch of ocean that seems to have ghosted gravity. Tides ignore the moon like it's an X. Temperatures rise and fall like a mood swing on espresso. Fish. They disappear on schedule like interns avoiding a Monday meeting. Nothing's random. Everything happens in rhythm, which is great, except no one knows what beat it's following. Not the moon, not the seasons, not even the vibes. So, is the ocean syncing with something? Is it counting down? And if so, who pressed start? And what happens when we hit zero? Tides are supposed to be simple. The moon pulls. The water rises. It's a straightforward formula, backed by science and faithfully followed by the entire underwater world since the dawn of time. But clearly, there's a spot off the coast of Iceland that never signed that agreement. Here, the tides arrive late, ignore every astronomical calendar, and seem extremely confident about being out of sync. The delay isn't random. It has rhythm. It has a cycle. Sometimes the tide rises higher than expected, then drops lower than what any self-respecting oceanographer would consider acceptable. Honestly, it's not that this place lacks rules, it's just that it has its own rules and doesn't bother telling the rest of the planet. And if the moon had a group chat for tides, this region was definitely kicked out sometime around 2017. While scientists were still arguing about whether the tides had lost their lunar loyalty, the fish had already clocked out. Entire species, not just a few sleepy cod, vanished in sync. Every 9 days, like they were following a union-approved disappearance calendar. This wasn't a, migration patterns, a shifting moment. It was a full-blown sonar blackout. One day, the screens were buzzing with marine life. The next, dead silence. No clicks, no fins, nothing but empty water and confused researchers refreshing their instruments, like interns reloading their email. And then, just as suddenly, everyone came back. 3 days later, no explanation, no apology. Shoals of fish calmly returned to the same depths, as if they'd just finished a deep-sea yoga retreat. No predators, no environmental disruption, not even a polite ripple to mark their exit or return. Biologists were baffled. Marine charts showed no threat. Tracking data revealed no cause. It was like someone rang a bell underwater, and every living creature within range politely swam off to attend what? A conference. A synchronized nap. One fish acting strange is instinct, but thousands vanishing on cue. Every 9 days, that's scheduling, and somewhere out there, something's keeping time. If the tides were weird and the fish had commitment issues, the ocean's temperature decided to just straight up mess with everyone. Between 500 and 800 meters deep, sensors picked up a rhythmic change, a zero. Stigsheets warm up over 2 hours, followed by a gentle cool down, then back up, then back down, like the sea was doing hot yoga. Every 18 hours, like clockwork, like an overachiever. This wasn't random. This wasn't weather. This wasn't a rogue current on caffeine. It was a perfect thermal rhythm that no known system could explain. Not geothermal heat, not seasonal upwelling, not even the classic blame it on underwater volcanoes theory. It was as if someone had installed a deep-sea Nest thermostat, given it a very intense workout playlist, and hit repeat forever. Oceanographers threw every model they had at it: convection flow, salinity gradients, internal waves, only to watch the data laugh and continue its perfectly timed spa cycle. Nothing fit. Nothing explained why the sea was behaving like it had a smartwatch and a personal trainer named Carl. Some call it a pulse. Some say it's the ocean breathing. But honestly, if the sea is breathing, you have to wonder, what's it getting ready to say? You know what really ruins a scientist's week? A dataset that behaves so perfectly it looks fake, but still refuses to match any model ever written. That's exactly what this Icelandic patch of ocean serves up: tide cycles, temperature swings, and fish migrations so neat. They could win a science fair. Except none of it fits the rules. Every formula, every simulation, every algorithm gets thrown at it like spaghetti at a wall, and nothing sticks. Models for salinity, thermal layering, moon gravity, deep sea currents, all of them come back blinking and whispering. We did our best. At first, researchers assumed it was a minor glitch, just a little noise in the data. Then they thought maybe it was a big glitch. But now, it's a very loud, very polite, no thanks from nature to every mathematical law we hold dear. Outside this 40 nautical mile zone, the ocean behaves like a textbook. But right here, it's like the ecosystem filed for creative freedom and started freelancing in interpretive dance. One 2018 paper from the University of Copenhagen put it best like a sigh in scientific language. The event exhibits cyclical behavior. The cause does not. Translation: the ocean is clearly doing something, but don't ask us why. Even math knows when it's been outplayed. Things officially entered the "this is getting weird" phase when a research team overlaid their data: the offbeat tides, the disappearing fish, the strange thermal pulses. At first glance, each had its own quirks, but layered together, they intersected almost perfectly every 90 days, like a symphony. Or worse, a silent rehearsal for something timed. No explosions, no earthquakes, no dramatic spike on any dashboard. But right before those 90-day intersections, every reading became sharper, more extreme, and then silent, as if the ocean was inhaling deeply, holding its breath, and quietly resetting. Some call it a countdown. Others say it's the sea blinking. But the patterns are too clean, too consistent, too orchestrated. One young researcher, after showing a perfectly aligned data map during a late-night meeting, said just one thing before closing his laptop: "We're not the ones setting the schedule. We're just passing through it." Since 2020, not a single major study has followed up on this region. Some projects were quietly cancelled. A few researchers changed fields entirely. The raw data still streams in from automated buoys, but no one seems eager to touch it. It's as if the scientific community collectively agreed, something's definitely happening here, so let's pretend we didn't see it. Maybe it's just a natural cycle we haven't cracked yet. Maybe it's a biological signal from something far too complex for our triple espresso brains to decode. Or maybe the ocean is counting down, and we've accidentally wandered in, just in time to hear the tick. If you ever dive off the coast of Japan and stumble upon a massive circle in the sand, so perfect, it looks like you accidentally zoomed into the crop circle layer on Google Maps, congratulations. You've just discovered one of the ocean's strangest visual mysteries. It's not aliens, it's not underwater archaeology. It's definitely not a Photoshop prank. The real questions are, who's building these circles? Why go through so much trouble? And why do they look oddly seductive? The answer comes from a creature you'd never suspect. And the story behind it, meticulous, romantic, and painfully stressful might just make you want to hug a fish out of pure respect. The first time people discovered them, those strange circles on the seafloor of Japan immediately sparked a flood of theories: aliens, ancient signal codes, or signs of an Atlantis-like civilization. Anime edition. They weren't small, up to 2 meters wide, almost perfectly symmetrical, with a center point, intricate patterns, and evenly spaced grooves like someone had used a giant compass and a marine engineer's ruler to draw them. No one understood where they came from. No camera ever captured the formation process, and no creature stepped up to take responsibility on social media. Some scientists thought it was a natural sedimentation phenomenon. Others quietly had their doubts. But the internet didn't wait. Reddit called them underwater crop circles, and YouTube rolled out full-on theories about interstellar messages. In short, everyone saw a masterpiece, but no one knew the name of the architect, until a tiny fish appeared and obliterated every grand theory. After nearly 20 years of wild guessing, someone finally had enough patience to drop a camera to the ocean floor and wait. And what showed up wasn't a UFO, nor some ancient sunken artifact, but a tiny male pufferfish, barely 15 centimeters long, looking suspiciously like a piece of sushi that just flinched. It didn't swim around aimlessly. It performed artistic labor. With fins no bigger than a toothbrush, it meticulously drew grooves in the sand, arranged layers of ocean dust, and used the current from its own fins to blow fine particles right into the center. Every flick of the tail was calculated like it had just graduated top of its class from Tokyo Institute of Aquatic Architecture. No rest breaks, no proper meals, no assistant in sight, just the male fish, the sand, and the invisible deadline of a project nobody hired him for. But he still had to finish. For 7 to 9 consecutive days, it worked non-stop, building a circle over 10 times its own body size, then obsessively adjusting every detail like a perfectionist freelancer still waiting for feedback from a ghosting client. No blueprints, no 3D software, not a single word of encouragement from its species, just a tiny fish furiously sculpting the ocean floor like the fate of all pufferfish depended on it. And the strangest part, it wasn't doing it for food. It wasn't building a storm shelter either. It was doing it for a reason that if humans found out might leave them feeling a little touched and a little ashamed. By the time the circle nears completion, the pressure's already built up, literally and emotionally. Because none of this is recreational. This isn't just a hobby or a midlife crisis art project. It's a full-blown romantic campaign. And the pufferfish is both architect and suitor. What he's constructing is nothing less than a love temple designed with such obsessive precision that even the sand seems to cooperate out of sheer admiration. Every ridge is smoothed for symmetry. Every grain in the center is fanned into a soft, shimmering bed of fine particles. The whole structure exudes a desperate kind of elegance, like if a 5-star hotel lobby and a Zen garden had a secret love child and left it on the ocean floor. This isn't instinct alone. It's courtship choreography, passed down through generations of fish, who apparently believe that go big or die alone is a genetic imperative. And somehow, this strategy has worked. Evolution didn't laugh this one out of the room. It greenlit it with full funding. The builder, meanwhile, doesn't take breaks. He doesn't stop to admire his progress or check his reflection in a passing jellyfish. There's only the build, the hope, and the looming presence of time slipping by in tides and currents. Because the clock is ticking, and no matter how beautiful the circle is, it only matters if a female notices, and she won't stay interested for long. What the male pufferfish achieves with nothing but fins and raw determination would make most human engineers tear up their diplomas and go into artisanal bread making. The structure isn't just pretty, it's functionally flawless. The outer ridges channel current like natural aqueducts, sweeping debris out and guiding ocean dust into its proper place. The central zone, delicate as powdered sugar, acts as a nursery soft enough to cradle the eggs, porous enough to breathe, and elevated just enough to avoid being swamped by rogue silt. No part of it is wasted. No groove is just for show. Every curve and contour is honed through centuries of evolutionary nitpicking. The spacing between ridges, geometrically aligned to catch light, reflect motion, and broadcast visual signals like a flashing billboard that says, "Now accepting applicants." And all this is done from scratch. Every season, no templates, no assistants, no CAD software. Just one exhausted fish dragging his face through sand, trying to impress a date who might not even show up. It's pure performance under pressure. Meanwhile, back on land, humans are still pouring concrete on crooked angles and arguing over which shade of beige looks more confident. This fish, he's already drafted, built, and quality tested a masterpiece on budget, on time, and underwater, all for a shot at love, or at the very least, a one-night egg-laying stand. For all its architectural genius, romantic idealism, and 10-day burnout cycle, the glorious love circle is destined to vanish, erased by the very ocean that inspired it. Once the female has laid her eggs and floated off like a disinterested art critic, nature doesn't pause for applause. The tide comes in, sweeps through, and obliterates everything. No memorial plaque, no preservation effort, just sand again. The male doesn't cry. He doesn't spiral into an existential funk. He doesn't tweet about how underappreciated artists are. He just starts over. A new circle, a new week, a new shot at seduction. Because in the world of underwater dating, there is no save as template button. Every masterpiece is handmade. Every courtship is do or drift. He doesn't get time off. No paid leave. No union breaks. He is the ultimate freelance architect on a gig economy schedule with zero job security and clients who ghost him the second the eggs drop. And yet, he builds again and again and again. It's either resilience or madness, possibly both. But no one can deny the commitment. While humans complain about replying to a hey text, this fish is out here rebuilding Versailles from scratch, hoping someone swipes left into his territory. Out of all the strange stunts evolution has pulled, this one feels personal. A tiny fish, armed with nothing but desperation and determination, invents modern sand design by accident. No thumbs, no rulers, no motivation except maybe she'll like this. 10 days of non-stop effort, flawless ridges, layered dust soft enough to sleep on, a visual masterpiece sculpted entirely with his face. And just when he finishes, the ocean rolls in like an unimpressed art critic and wipes the whole thing away as if to say, "Cute. Try again." All that for a single shot at passing on his DNA. It's not just courtship. It's reality TV with higher stakes and worse lighting. And somehow, this keeps happening again and again. No complaints, no burnout posts, just a fish who builds like no one's watching and flirts like everything's on the line. At first, people thought these circles were alien messages. Turns out, they were just sent from one lonely fish to another. But here's the thing, if one random pufferfish can create this much beauty in secret, how many other ocean creatures are pulling off incredible feats right under our flippers? What patterns are being drawn, erased, and drawn again in places we never look? Maybe it's not just him. Maybe the deep isn't just full of life, it's full of artists. And maybe, just maybe, the ocean isn't done showing off. Somewhere in the middle of the Pacific, where you'd expect nothing but mud, rocks, and a few fish with faces like they're in a contest to see who's sleepier, scientists stumbled upon something so bizarre they had to rub their eyes. A perfectly aligned network of structures so precise it looked like a computer motherboard was somehow plugged right into the sea floor. The big question: who put this thing here? Why are the crystals lined up like they're rehearsing for a marching band routine at the bottom of the ocean? And if the sea doesn't have Wi-Fi, then why does the ocean floor look like it's trying to connect? No one set out to discover anything. Really, a remotely operated vehicle ROV was dispatched into the Western Pacific, tasked with the scientific equivalent of watching paint-dry sediment sampling for a climate study. The kind of assignment that makes researchers yawn before they even leave the ship. But, like every GPS that has ever made a tech nerd swear, the robot decided to take a slight detour, drifting a few hundred meters off course. Instead of dull mud and sand, the control screen lit up with something square, angular, geometrically flawless. Imagine turning on the grid overlay in Photoshop, except 5,000 meters underwater. The team thought the camera was busted, or maybe some gunk had stuck to the lens. But after triple-checking the feed and slapping a desk in mild panic, every angle confirmed the same impossible sight: a massive crystal grid stretched across the sea floor. It was so cleanly arranged that if someone slapped an Apple logo in the center, you'd assume Tim Cook had just launched the MacBook Seafloor Edition. As the ROV panned in closer, the entire team fell silent. A rare feat for a group of scientists who usually debate like they're arguing over scatter plots. What appeared on the screen wasn't a random scattering of pebbles or a quirky tectonic crack. It was row after row of crystals, laid out like luxury floor tiles at the bottom of the ocean, each piece perfectly in place. So straight, you could use it to teach geometry to third graders. Composition-wise, nothing exotic: manganese, calcium, oxidized iron, all standard minerals found in marine sediment layers, NOAA, 2021. But their behavior, that was the real curveball. No signs of current disruption, no warping from pressure, no chaotic mixing like a freshman's backpack full of chalk samples. They were as straight as PowerPoint borders, so neatly aligned even someone with OCD might breathe a sigh of relief. There were no signs of nearby volcanic activity, no tectonic clashes, no natural forces that could plausibly justify this level of tidiness. One researcher even muttered, "If Mother Nature had a logistics department, this is where they work." And honestly, it was hard to argue. These crystals weren't just arranged, they looked like they were waiting for the next step. A signal, or maybe a firmware update from the ocean floor. So we've got crystals, we've got structure, we've got symmetry so immaculate it could make an interior designer weep. Naturally, the next question came barreling in. Could it be alive? The research team scrambled like a quiz show buzzer had gone off. Out came the deep-sea swabs, the microbial samplers, even a DNA testing kit, because hey, if there's one place to find weird life, it's 5,000 meters under the sea. The result? Nothing. No cells. No bacteria. Not even the faint stink of something that used to be alive. Not a trace. Even the marine fungi took one look and said, "No thanks." So then random phenomenon, still no. In nature, mineral crystals typically form through two main mechanisms: spontaneous nucleation and precipitation gradients, both of which usually result in shapes that resemble chewed-up salt blocks or sad sugar cubes. But these, every face was crisp. Every angle looked like it was protractor approved, like someone had carefully shaded them in, square by square. On an engineering entrance exam, experts from the University of Tokyo even compared the layout to photonic crystal models, materials so symmetrical they're being studied for guiding light in quantum chips. But here, there was no light, no lab, just rocks. So, what in Poseidon's name made the Pacific seafloor start acting like a summa cum laude materials science grad? With no signs of life to chase, researchers did what any rational human would do. They turned to artificial intelligence. Specifically, they fed the entire crystal grid layout into neural network modeling software, the kind usually reserved for training AIs to recognize cats or beat humans at chess. And just like a new season of a Netflix documentary, things escalated fast. The grid revealed a web of nodes and pathways, eerily similar to how biological neurons connect, not just similar structurally aligned with the decentralized nervous systems found in octopuses and jellyfish. That's right, creatures that function without a single brain, but instead distribute information across multiple points. The further they zoomed into the layout, the more the structure resembled early-stage quantum computing motherboards, where optical circuits are arranged in the most efficient signal routes possible. At that point, the questions got bigger. If it's just rock, why does it optimize? If it's inanimate, why are there deliberate gaps and perfect intersections like a microscopic subway map? A team at the USGS U.S. Geological Survey simulated formation conditions, pressure, temperature, crystallization rate, chemical makeup, and estimated the probability of such a precise layout occurring naturally to be less than 1 in 10 million. Now, minerals have pulled off some pretty fancy tricks before. Snowflakes with hexagonal symmetry, quasi-crystals found in Russia in 2009 with non-repeating patterns that still manage to look organized. But never has any crystalline formation lined itself up like a transmission device. This thing wasn't just lying there. It looked like it was listening. When scientists from 3 countries start switching to Google Translate mid-meeting just to argue over mineral patterns, you know something weird is happening. And sure enough, theories began to bubble up, like methane leaks from the scientifically grounded to the kind that sounds wild, but somehow can't be dismissed. First came the geological archive theory. Some researchers proposed that the crystal grid might function as a kind of natural data storage, not in bytes or gigabytes, but through crystal density, growth direction, and layered structure. In essence, Earth doing what we thought only hard drives could do. A team from the Japanese Institute of Geochemistry had previously discovered rare element accumulation in seafloor manganese nodules, suggesting that the ocean environment might be capable of self-encoding information over time, via pressure and mineral deposition. Then came a bolder, yet equally intriguing hypothesis: ancient microbial architecture. Maybe millions of years ago, this region hosted a mega-colony of microorganisms with the ability to shape crystal formations to transmit information, similar to how some bacteria today build calcium ion highways to signal each other. A kind of biochemical Wi-Fi, long extinct but still etched into stone. And of course, no deep-sea mystery is complete without the unspoken guest at every scientific roundtable, the alien hypothesis. Nobody says extraterrestrial out loud during presentations, but plenty of eyebrows did that slow, suspicious arch when someone whispered, "It really does look like a motherboard." Because what else would you call a crystal network that mimics circuit architecture just sitting quietly in the middle of nowhere, with no signs of technology nearby? And the bigger question, if it's a signal, who was it meant for? Or worse, have we just stumbled into reading someone's diary that was never meant to be found? Ever since the first discovery, every attempt to return to the Crystal Grid site has run into issues. Deep diving drones lost signal without explanation. Sonar scanners picked up static interference no one could trace. One time, the tech crew had to rely on an old-school compass because the GPS spun like a roulette wheel. A microstorm even formed right over the survey zone, then vanished like someone had scheduled it and hit cancel. Some people call that a coincidence. Others, who tend to joke less, call it interference. The result: the location remains marked on the map, but untouched. The Crystal Grid is still there, still intact, not destroyed, not quietly removed and shipped off to a museum behind closed doors. But the question hangs in the water, like an unread email from the bottom of the sea. Could this be a system waiting to be activated? A connection port that needs the right signal? Or something that once operated and is now dormant, waiting for the right conditions to wake up? Because if there really is something lying quietly at the bottom of the Pacific, arranged like circuitry, silent as if it doesn't exist, then maybe the only thing it's missing is the other person in the conversation. If Earth had a secret gym where it goes to shed its old skin, the Kermadec Trench would be it. It's so deep, sunlight won't even bother showing up yet down there. The seafloor isn't just surviving. It's renewing, reinventing, quietly working through what feels like a planet-wide fitness plan. Why is this trench producing fresh ocean floor while the rest of the seabed just lies around doing nothing? Why are creatures here thriving without oxygen, sunlight, or even a proper night's sleep? And are we witnessing Earth's own reset button, hidden right in the middle of the Pacific? The Kermadec Trench, lurking off the northern coast of New Zealand, is one of the deepest places humans have ever discovered, reaching down a jaw-dropping 147 meters. According to the National Institute of Water and Atmospheric Research, NIWA, that's deep enough to drop Mount Tarjua in whole and still have room left for a party at the bottom. At that depth, anything from a tin can to a submarine gets flattened into a pancake within seconds. No one's tested 5G coverage down there yet, but we're guessing it's not great. Under pressure more than 1,000 times that at sea level. The seafloor here doesn't crumble as expected, it regenerates. Each year, a slab of oceanic crust from the Pacific Plate gets swallowed into the Earth's belly through subduction. And in return, brand new seafloor is minted, like Earth is shedding skin and doing geological skincare 1 millimeter at a time. If the Mariana Trench is the quiet old monk in the mountains, Kermadec is the gym bro permanently in a bulking phase. It's dynamic, restless, and slightly suspicious, because whatever's down there, it doesn't seem interested in staying still. If the Kermadec Trench had a gym, its go-to workout would be continental crunches at crushing depth. This region is part of the Pacific Ring of Fire, the birthplace of over 75% of the world's active volcanoes, USGS. Think the ocean floor is peaceful. Think again. This zone experiences an average of 15,000 plus earthquakes per year, most of them triggered by the Pacific Plate squeezing itself under the Australian Plate at a rate of 6 to 7 centimeters per year. Sounds slow? Imagine a continent-sized rock slamming into the Earth's mantle in ultra-slow motion for centuries. And here's the kicker. Many underwater volcanoes in the trench are still active, silently puffing away like they're trying to keep a secret. Seismic studies have detected magma plumes rising from nearly 400 kilometers deep, punching through the mantle like it's wet cardboard and reaching the sea floor to build brand new terrain. It's like a software update, except instead of fixing bugs, it's creating more places for strange creatures to hide. In short, Earth isn't sleeping here. It's growling. Quietly, yes, but deliberately. And if you feel like something's doing a full-body workout beneath your feet, you're absolutely not imagining things. At depths where the pressure could crush a shipping container flat and light gives up entirely. You'd expect nothing to survive except maybe some rejected sci-fi concepts. But no, Kermadec is a biological resurrection zone, crawling with life forms you wouldn't want to imagine alone at midnight. Here, researchers have found transparent amphipods, hydrocarbon-eating bacteria, and giant tube worms thriving around hydrothermal vents, where temperatures can soar up to 400 degrees Celsius, hot enough to boil spaghetti without a pot. These creatures need no oxygen, no sunlight, and apparently no good luck wishes from Mother Nature. They live off toxic gases, iron, sulfur, and everything we humans label as not for consumption. A 2021 study by JAMSTEC Japan Agency for Marine Earth Science and Technology revealed that Kermadec's microbial ecosystem can generate energy through chemical reactions entirely independent of light, a process known as chemosynthesis. Put simply, while the rest of life on Earth clings to sunlight, these organisms just need a hot rock and a gritty can-do attitude. And they're not just alive, they're persistently ancient. Some specimens appear nearly unchanged after millions of years, making Kermadec feel more like a living museum, where time tripped and evolution forgot to update a few chapters. While humans scramble to build the metaverse, an entire microbial universe has already been quietly thriving down here, no iOS update required. While most humans still associate hydrogen sulfide with that moment of horror when someone farts on a crowded bus, in the Kermadec Trench, it's actually the foundation of an entirely new kind of life. The hydrothermal vents here don't just puff out poison, they act as natural carbon filters on an industrial scale. And they don't ask for raises or paid time off. According to a 2020 study in Nature Geoscience, the hydrothermal vent fields in the Kermadec region can absorb and recycle carbon at rates that dwarf tropical rainforests of equivalent area. These deep-sea ecosystems are self-contained worlds where sulfur and methane processing bacteria operate like unseen office clerks, diligently filing geological waste without ever demanding a promotion. On top of that, the mineral-rich fluids spewing from over 3,000 meters below are facilitating the creation of entirely new mineral compounds never observed on the surface, some of which may be game changers in clean energy tech or future medical treatments. Translation: while we're still scrambling to find lithium for electric cars, the seafloor at Kermadec might already be hoarding the ingredients for the batteries of the 23rd century. And here's the kicker: all of this, from heat release to carbon detox, happens in silence, without a puff of smoke, a drilling rig, or even a passive-aggressive Slack notification. If Earth had a secret wellness retreat, this would be it: a deep-sea spa exhaling toxic gas, like it's prepping the ultimate mineral hot tub. If most ocean trenches are just gloomy pits nobody's lining up to visit, then the Kermadec Trench feels more like Earth's secret basement, minus the authorized personnel-only sign. According to researchers at GNS Science New Zealand, this region could be one of the most geologically energetic hotspots on the planet, with a stockpile of tectonic power that still hasn't been fully measured. But the real goosebumps don't come from what's moving on the surface, but from hints that something might be shifting underneath all that seismic activity. Seismic waves recorded a few anomalous tremors frequencies that didn't match known earthquakes or tectonic shifts. It was more like something knocking from the far side of the Earth's crust. Of course, the official explanation chalks it up to unreleased energy buildup or complex dynamics between the Pacific and Australian plates. But at 1,000 meters below sea level, where light dies and GPS signals quit trying, you're allowed to wonder if the Earth had a back door. Wouldn't it be here? And if someone or something is knocking from the inside, should we knock back? If anything could break the laws of physics and still avoid getting questioned by the science police, it's the river that flows beneath the ocean. Yes, really, off the coast of Yucatan. There's a current slithering across the seafloor, complete with riverbanks, mist, even soggy tree stumps along the edge. The only catch, it's sitting under dozens of meters of salty seawater. Sounds impossible. Exactly. Science has seen it, measured it, and still can't fully explain what on earth it's doing down there. An illusion, a toxic spill, the secret backdoor to Poseidon's underwater office. Or is Mother Nature just playing Minecraft in creative mode? If you're a diver, the worst things you expect to encounter at the bottom of the sea include sharks, getting disoriented, or heaven forbid, your air tank throwing a tantrum. What you don't expect, a perfectly winding river, casually flowing across the ocean floor like it's out for a scenic stroll. And yet, that's exactly what a team of Mexican divers witnessed at Cenote Angelita, a deep-cast sinkhole off the coast of the Yucatan Peninsula. At first, they thought they were hallucinating. The camera showed a regular sea floor, and then boom, a dense stream of water appeared, cloaked in an eerie mist, flowing like it had somewhere important to be, possibly grandma's. On both sides, dead tree branches jutted out like zombie bonsai decorations. The water inside the river was completely different, heavier, murkier, colder, as if the ocean had launched a secret streaming service and forgot to send out the invites. It wasn't CGI. It wasn't a lighting trick. This was a real river, hiding beneath another body of water. And science started scratching its head. Hard. If you thought water always mixes with water smoothly, like long-lost siblings at a reunion, Cenote Angelita would like a word. Or rather, a dramatic soap opera. Down there, water molecules have decided to ghost each other permanently. Picture this, a layer of crystal-clear water on top, a thick, sludgy river below, and between them, a foggy, ghost-like mist that looks like it wandered in from a low-budget horror movie. So what's actually going on? The bottom layer isn't your regular ocean water. It's a dense blend, rich in hydrogen sulfide, H2S, yes, that infamous gas that smells like rotten eggs, usually released by decaying plants and organic matter in low-oxygen environments. And here's the kicker, it's heavier than seawater. So instead of swirling together like a cocktail, it sinks and sulks at the bottom like it's plotting a revolution. The two water layers stare each other down like ex-best friends airing dirty laundry on Facebook. No mingling, no blending, just silent coexistence, two realms, two worlds. According to scientists, yes, actual ones with clipboards. The stark differences in density and temperature are what keep the layers from shaking hands. It's a full-blown Cold War minus the diplomats. But with all the tension, picture a fish just minding its business on a pleasant ocean stroll. Clear skies, salty breeze, living its best underwater life. Then suddenly it spots a dense, snake-like current slithering across the sea floor, like it's auditioning to be the Amazon River. Curious? Big mistake. That might be the last swim it ever takes. Because inside that odd river isn't selfie-worthy scenery, it's a thick soup of hydrogen sulfide. A gas so toxic, even the toughest marine worms turn tail and flee. Hydrogen sulfide, H2S, messes with cellular respiration, meaning it doesn't kill instantly, it suffocates slowly, like trying to run a marathon in a windowless closet. And while fish never went to college, they're smart enough to steer clear. In this zone, there's no Nemo, no Dory, just a haunting silence and water so hostile it could wilt coral on sight. And yet, in the middle of this deathly stillness, a few hardcore survivors cling to the edges. A handful of extremophile microorganisms, the biochemical equivalent of stunt performers, have set up camp right at the toxic riverbanks. According to a 2017 study on extreme microbial habitats, these tiny rebels don't just survive, they thrive. Like they're running a cafe at the edge of hell. No light, no oxygen, just pure, undiluted chemical warfare. For them, it's not a red flag, it's a party invitation. Don't be fooled by its lazy drift aesthetic. What's slithering along the Yucatan seafloor isn't really a river. It might just be a living geological scar. According to some researchers from Mexico's National Institute of Anthropology and History, INAHE, 2016, this strange flow could be the result of thousands of years' worth of decaying organic matter, fallen leaves, sunken branches, and maybe even a few unfortunate prehistoric sloths gradually sinking through the water column until they formed a separate, heavy, and extremely cranky liquid mass. This isn't a river as much as it is a kind of ancient artery of the Earth, frozen between two geological time zones. Every time it shifts, scientists imagine the planet subtly twitching, as if this were the faint heartbeat of Earth's deep-buried circulatory system. Still, deep, and absolutely not swim-friendly, what's especially baffling is how this flow has remained stable for millennia without dissolving into the surrounding ocean like a cup of thick Vietnamese drip coffee sitting in the middle of a swimming pool without mixing in. No swirling, no stirring, no diffusion, just lying there like a grumpy old man refusing to change, defying every law of fluid dynamics we thought we understood. It's kind of absurd, isn't it? Humans have dived into active volcanoes, steered ships through Antarctic ice, even sent probes to the edge of the solar system. Yet when it comes to this so-called river at the bottom of the sea, modern technology folds faster than Wi-Fi in an elevator. Every time researchers try to drop in a pH meter or sampling probe, things go haywire. Sensors start blinking like they've joined a rave party. Indicators glitch. One poor ROV even returned with the underwater equivalent of a panicked look if robots could scream. This one probably would have. The culprit. A popular theory blames the dense layer of hydrogen sulfide gas, the same lovely compound responsible for rotten eggs, and, allegedly, hell itself. The gas may be interfering with electronics, making the entire site behave like it's been hit with a saltwater curse. Another theory suggests this is a naturally occurring biological firewall, a kind of underwater no-go zone designed to keep curious creatures and nosy scientists out of its core. It's hard not to feel like the current is hiding something that, every time humanity gets a little too close, makes the gear quietly short-circuit and head back home. No sirens, no explosions, just a steady stream of minor malfunctions that seems suspiciously well-timed, like the river itself, muttering, "Not your business. Move along." In the grand hall of rivers, each one gets a moment to shine. The Ganges is sacred, the Nile, legendary, the Amazon, wild. And then there's this one. It's not sacred, it's not scenic, and it doesn't have playful fish or poetic banks. It just slinks along quietly underneath seawater, reeking like a dozen rotten eggs dropped into a sauna. Scientists have identified the culprit as hydrogen sulfide, the same charming gas behind your hard-boiled egg explosions. But what baffles them is how this river maintains its own shape and flow, denser than the seawater around it, refusing to dissolve like it logically should. They've tried recreating it, tweaking temperature, pressure, and salinity in lab tanks. The only result? A foamy, foul-smelling aquarium that made interns rethink their career paths. So, how long has this current been here? Did it form naturally, or is it hiding a cave system beneath? Is it growing? Or worse, is it opening? What unsettles scientists isn't just the smell. It's the eerie feeling that this river is waiting for something. A signal, a moment, a mistake. And when it opens, the stench might be the least of our worries. In the middle of a freezing patch of the Arctic Ocean, there's a zone where every radio signal suddenly vanishes into silence. GPS falls into a depressive episode. The ROV turns around and leaves, like it forgot something at home. There are no underwater volcanoes, no solar storms, and definitely no whales with enough spare time to hack frequencies. And so, the scientific community just froze. Who or what is politely swallowing every frequency without leaving a trace? Is nature throwing a tantrum? Or have we stumbled upon an invisible gateway someone really doesn't want us to open? The first clue came in the 1980s, when a Soviet geomagnetic survey fleet mysteriously lost formation despite not moving an inch. Ships that were supposed to be lined up in perfect naval symmetry suddenly found themselves confused and alone, like teenagers at their first school dance. Compasses spun like roulette wheels. Radars echoed ghost signals. One GPS unit helpfully declared the ship had arrived at downtown Moscow, which was only about 4,000 kilometers off. New gear didn't help. Batteries changed. Systems rebooted. Nothing worked. Eventually, the Navy gave up trying to fix it and simply marked the region with a label that sounds more like a sci-fi horror movie than a cartographic term, Dead Zone. The Laptov region sits at the intersection of unstable geomagnetic zones and was reported in Soviet-era research by the Russian Institute of Applied Physics. Nothing chills a scientist's spine faster than hearing a piece of tech say, "Nope." And in this patch of ocean, every single device has essentially given up. Not because the batteries died, not because a shark mistook the antenna for sushi, but because something down there is swallowing the signals whole. Submarines tried sending SOS pings. Nada. Sonar pulses. Dead silence. Magnetometers. Screaming into the void. GPS. Sorry, we don't know where you are or if you are. One team of radio engineers summed it up with a phrase that was equal parts joke and despair. It's like there's a magnetic soundproof curtain pulled over the entire zone. No radiation bounce back, no signal echoes. It's not just blocking communication, it's devouring the very questions. A 2006 MODIS satellite report detected unexplained microwave interference and thermal anomalies in the Laptov Sea unrelated to solar or seismic activity at the time. So here's the riddle. Is this just a geophysical hiccup or some kind of intentional silence? If a ship screams here and no one hears it, did it ever exist at all? You'd think dropping a robot into the ocean would be simple. Attach the cable, press the button, sip some coffee, and wait for data. But in this bizarre patch of water, that expectation gets crushed, right along with a cable worth tens of thousands of dollars. The first ROV was launched ceremoniously. 10 minutes later, the screen went black. No static, no vibration, no error message, just a clean vanishing act, as if the ocean itself had hit unplug. When the team reeled the cable back in, jaws dropped. The cable wasn't snapped, but mildly melted and heat discolored, as if it had passed through some invisible electromagnetic sauna. Barely recovered. The team bravely sent down a second robot. This time, the cable didn't melt, but it began twisting and coiling like it was being pulled by a rogue gravity field, tilting the entire crane setup. From afar, it looked like someone had fallen asleep with their headphones on and gotten strangled in their sleep, except this was happening at the bottom of the sea. Certain regions off the Laptov Sea have recorded anomalous magnetic induction capable of disrupting depth sensors and wireless electronics BGR. 2012. Since then, scientists have come up with a new nickname for this place, Neptune's freezer. Not because it's cold, but because any signal that enters seems to get deep frozen forever. On paper, this place is a geological snooze fest. No abyss, no fault lines, no mysterious magma rivers slithering beneath the crust. The magnetometer, about as responsive as a government clerk 5 minutes before quitting time. Everything screamed boring. That is, until someone turned on the sonar. The first ping echoed, and then the room went silent. The screen returned a series of concentric acoustic spirals, repeating 3 times across 3 different coordinates. Not louder, not distorted, just eerily perfect spirals like yelling into a cave, and getting a response shaped like a helix, as if something hollow, enormous, and politely uninvited was lying down there, humming back. One geophysicist shot up from his chair and shouted, "It's like knocking on the hull of a buried metal spaceship, except there's no spaceship." Then he calmly sat back down, adjusted his glasses, and pretended he didn't just say that out loud. Spiral sonar echoes were recorded at coordinates. By a geophysical survey team from the Shirshov Institute, Russia, 2011. Ever since, every time the sonar goes ping and gets 3 perfect echoes in return, the team stops thinking about bedrock. They start thinking about a stomach, a very large, echoing stomach. Sonar signals are supposed to bounce back like bathroom echoes, clean, honest, and completely incapable of pretending. But here, the echoes didn't just bounce. They twisted, warped, and returned as blurry signals, as if someone or something was faking the echo. Not a reflection off a rock wall, but a reply filtered through something programmable, or at the very least, something that wasn't rock or water. At first, the research team blamed the gear. Faulty transmitter, maybe, but after 3 emitter replacements, 2 frequency recalibrations, and 1 complete switch to a brand new Japanese system, the fake echo still came back, perfectly consistent, always from the same coordinates, as if someone was camped out at the bottom of the sea, politely waving at each ping and answering with a casual shrug, "I'm here." but you can't see me. One hydroacoustics physicist finally exhaled and voiced what no one else dared to. It might be an active echo disruption system buried under the sediment. A system that doesn't emit, doesn't heat up, but precisely warps sound reflections. Like an invisibility cloak, but for sonar. The Geophysical Journal International, June 2011 issue, documented anomalous echo reflections in the Siberian Sea mismatched with any known geological formations. If it's not alive, and it's not tech, maybe it's just how rock listens back.